Hi, this is Little Dwarf playing games while rambling incoherently into a microphone. Why? Well, just because I can, and they continue with Disco Elysium, Blind.
Oh, hello, dear. There you are again.
You never told me you've seen... Well, first, I ran into your husband on the coast.
Goodness, how is he? Did he say why he hasn't returned yet?
The old woman claps his hands together over the blanket.
He's fine, ma'am. As we had suspected, he couldn't get back earlier because the water lock on the canal was broken. Now he's just finishing up somewhere.
Oh, yes. That's my Morel. He's bound to catch a cold staying out there for so long. But I am so relieved to hear that he's okay. Thank you for putting an old woman's heart at ease, if even a little.
You haven't, however. There are dangers out there. Our aging body's foul. Her heart won't rest until Morel is safely back with her. Now maybe she'll open up about those fascinating cryptids. Take her mind off all this.
You've never told me you've seen the Phasmid.
Oh, you don't want to hear about some old woman's ramblings.
No, I really do want to know.
Reflexively, the lieutenant read his familiar notebook.
Well, it was summer. I was building a racing track out of sand on the beach near a tall stand of reeds. Quite a tall one. Many times my height, I remember. When, all of a sudden...
Where was this and how old were you?
I'm getting ahead of myself. I was 5.5 in Betancourt in the suburbs. My grandmother had a summer home there.
She'd just started forming memories. Real memories. Not the billowy haze of infanthood. Betancourt got bombed in the war. It used to be quite near, circa 20 kilometers from here.
What happened?
The strangest moment of my life. I looked up and one of the reeds moved. Not like a plant, but like a living thing. It stood up and looked at me. Its body unfolded like some antique toy. I've never seen anything like it. I didn't know this can happen, so I reached my arm and touched the thing. It felt just like a stalk of reed, but it moved, swaying, towering above me. After a while, 20 seconds, a minute maybe, it left, went into the reeds.
Did you follow it?
I tried, but I was only a child. There was mud and high water. I couldn't see it anymore. I was just standing there knee-deep in mud, looking around me.
Where did you go? Don't go.
Then what?
I ran back home to my grandmother and asked her if reeds could walk, and told her they were looking at me. Of course, she just laughed at me, but I knew what I'd seen. For years, it was a story I told at parties when I wanted to impress boys. That sort of thing. Of course, most people just took it as a strange, amusing anecdote. So did I, honestly. But then I met Morel. We were on our first date when I told him my story. You should have seen his face. He said my descriptions matched the Phasmid down to a T. Its white marble limbs, the way it moved.
So that's how they met. This is beyond significant for them.
You were on a date?
Our first. Yes.
She sighs tenderly.
The sigh is tender. The sigh is tender, yes, but tempered by something else. A thought she can't express. Interesting.
Its limbs are white?
Not all of them, as far as I remember. Some of them. On the inside, like stalks of marble, if that makes sense.
How big was it?
It's hard to say how big things are when you're quite small yourself. To me, it seemed to be taller than I was then, but that's probably not the case.
What if it is the case?
Maybe you imagined it.
Of course. I've thought about it. But Morel says my report matches with the others. And I'm sure I hadn't heard of the Phasmid as a child. Nor had my mother or my grandmother. So how did I know what to imagine? It was only when I started telling my story as a teenager that boys would tell me, Lena,
She lowers her voice, imitating a boy.
you trying to tell us you saw the Insul Indian phasmid out there in those reeds? Get out of here. They just give me a cider and ruffle my hair and tell me to stop dreaming. But I saw it.
Kim, what do you think of this?
I thought it was a wonderful story, man.
He closes his notes and gives her a simple smile.
But I don't believe it. A child left unattended on a warm day. Children make up stories and then end up believing them.
And thank you for sharing this with me.
You're welcome, sweetie. I do appreciate the chance to relive it whenever I get one. It was just such an impossibly sunshiny day. So warm.
And she could get up and walk right into the reeds on her own. Into the mud. Anywhere.
Maybe you could convince her to tell you about some cool cryptids.
There's really no point in manipulating anyone. She'd be only too pleased to tell you about her work. Go on and ask.
Hey, Lena, I'd like to hear about some of the cryptids you have studied. Could you tell me about a couple of them?
Oh, I'd be delighted. Truth be told, I could really use the company too.
One cryptid, not a couple. One. This won't turn into some kind of cryptid extravaganza.
Cryptid extravaganza, I like the sound of that. Mind you, not because I believe in cryptids myself, just because, it might be, I treat it as a, as a story. It doesn't have to be true to be fun to listen about the folklore and all that.
And I don't. Just one.
Or he'll be disappointed in you. Ooh, tough choice there.
Is that the cryptid on the pen you gave me?
Yes. It's the kind green ape. Half war story, half undiscovered species in the genus Homo.
War story?
Yes, it was reported by soldiers in South Safra during the war. The kind green ape would visit bunkers during the night, healing wounded soldiers with its saliva.
With its saliva?
Yes, it has amazing healing qualities. Some soldiers reported growing back limbs, regaining their sight.
And there was something about an undiscovered subspecies of man?
Indeed, there is. It's our closest relative among the cryptids. Same taxonomic family, different genus. Which is to say, the kind green ape is a species with which we share a common ancestor, and that evolved parallel to our own. Just like your partners.
I'm pretty sure Kim is the same species as us. To suggest otherwise is stupid, and also at least vaguely racist.
The lieutenant looks at you, pleasantly surprised.
Oh, no, I didn't mean to imply that Saolites are inferior to us in many ways. You are superior. For example, your earwax doesn't have a foul odor like ours does.
A tremendous evolutionary advantage, I'm sure. But perhaps we've had enough speculative biology for today.
Are there any invisible cryptids?
Hey, you promised you'd only ask about one cryptid.
But Kim, don't you want to hear about another cryptid too?
The lieutenant pauses, thoughtfully. Something in him breaks.
Ah, fuck it. Let's have more cryptids.
Wait, I think that's literally the first time. It might be the first time he swore.
Well, the answer is yes, there is an invisible cryptid.
What's that?
The Coldamama d'Aqua, or thin whisper of sound. And that's precisely what it seems to be. Self-replicating sound waves, invisible and intangible. It's very afraid of us, which makes it incredibly difficult to track.
Coldamama d'Aqua can also be translated as a whisper light and low.
A whisper light and low?
Yes, that's another translation. They're both quite lovely, aren't they? Although the low part is a little ironic. The col de Mama d'Aqua makes, or rather is, such a high-pitched sound that other animals, including humans, can't hear it. It could be everywhere, all of the time, and we wouldn't know.
Fine, I'll bite. How can an animal be a sound?
Many scientists have asked the same question. Some have claimed that it isn't itself a sound, but a tiny corpuscle that emits sound waves. But there's no evidence to support this theory.
Could it be here right now?
It could be. As I said, it could be everywhere. And we wouldn't know any better. It could be ringing all the days of our lives and nights.
What evidence is there of this animal being a sound?
Plenty. It's the evidence that led to its discovery. In the 20s, a group of areopagi ornithologists, that is, scientists who study birds, were trying out a new recording technology for capturing sounds outside the range of human hearing. When playing back recordings they had made in the foothills of the Ea mountain range, they noticed certain anomalies, patterns that seemed random at first, but on closer examination were consistent with the waveforms of songbirds. The scientists soon discovered they could track and even predict what appeared to be feeding, mating, and migration patterns based on sound waves in a strictly delimited range of ultrasonic frequencies, even higher than those of the highest pitched bat calls.
She transforms, when speaking about these strange animals, into a confident woman.
They realized that they had discovered a new species and called it the col de Mama d'Aqua, after the Paracanassian name for the voice of God, which is said to be very silent. They grew quite obsessed with these little birds. Even though they couldn't see them, they could distinguish among individual birds and even began to name some of them.
Name them?
Sequester, Time, Joscan. Those are but some of the Mama d'Aqua they followed individually.
Why is it so afraid of us?
That is a sad story. A group of university students assisting with the field work in their enthusiasm for the project, and no doubt because they were preoccupied with impressing their professors, nearly drove it to extinction.
Extinction?
They tried to communicate with it and had no other means but sound. So they started sending out sound waves at frequencies they thought might match the Mama d'Aquas. And what happens when a sound wave meets another sound wave of the same frequency, dear?
They cancel each other out.
This lady really should be a teacher. She's really good at the explaining things thing. Psst. They cancel each other out.
Yeah. Psst. I actually knew that. They cancel each other out.
Exactly. And these tests were performed so recklessly that when they happened upon the right frequency, well, they wiped out most of the population.
Great regret washes over her. A wending cloth.
After that, the corpuscle appears to have migrated elsewhere. There have been recordings of anomalies similar to those spotted in Ea, but they've been few and far between. It's impossible to confirm the presence of any stable col de Mama d'Aqua population anywhere.
Of course. A common thread in these. Disappearance and unfalsifiability. I like the story, though, ma'am.
He's very polite. He's such a nice guy.
I'm glad you did, dear.
Interesting.
What about what?
What's the most dangerous cryptid?
The gnome of Jeroma.
The gnome of Jeroma? That doesn't sound too bad.
Oh, it is. None of its victims survived. Grieving relatives never even found their bodies because the gnome's venom dissolved organic tissue.
What did it look like?
It was reportedly a small creature with webbed fingers and a protruding forehead and a gangly little thing. Quite scary to look at. A couple of campers found it when it was already dying. They heard an odd wailing in the woods and followed the sound. They were scared and wrapped it in tarpaulin to suffocate it. It still took the gnome of Jeroma an entire day to die.
If the body of the creature was found, why aren't there detailed illustrations of it in science textbooks, confirming the existence of this very little species?
Alas, the first scientist who got his hands on the creature's corpse put it in a jar of formaldehyde, thinking that would detoxify the gnome's venom. Instead, all the venom leaked out of the creature's teeth and into the surrounding liquid, dissolving the creature itself. A poetic end, perhaps, but a real loss for science.
Alas, always alas, and then it was gone. Isn't that overly convenient?
Yes, it is. Seems very convenient it just disappeared and nothing like it was seen again.
I understand your skepticism, but that's what happens with things that are rare and stand out. Their disappearance is most memorable, and they are least likely to be found again.
What's the tiniest cryptid?
Cryobacter catlensis.
Cryobacter catlensis?
Yes, a unicellular bacterium that was discovered in one of the northernmost points of Kotla on the Boreal Plateau by renowned geologist Caitlin Mijanou some 70 years ago.
What's so special about it?
The bacterial colony Mijanou found had remained alive while frozen in ice for longer than anyone could reliably estimate. Certainly from before recorded history. Mijanou disappeared shortly after injecting herself with the bacteria she had brought back to study, no doubt in hopes of prolonging her own life.
Wait, she injected herself with it? Like, who does that? You find some, ancient bacteria from before history, and your first thought is to inject yourself with it? Like, are you insane? She injected herself with it.
Yes, the bacteria had survived in the ice since times immemorial. It is not hard to see where she could have gotten the idea.
It's actually a little hard to see. But do go on.
Yeah, to be honest, I kinda... Yeah, like... To be honest, to me, immortality is terrifying. The thought of there never being an end to my consciousness. It's terrifying. I want there to be a finish line. I think one life is enough. One lifetime is enough. I don't understand. Why would anyone prolong their life? Being alive is terrible.
Oh, sweetie. It's not all quite so awful, but prolonging one's life does seem to come with risks. After Mijanou treated herself with the bacteria, she stopped aging, but also became increasingly eccentric and irascible, so that even her oldest friends were forced to pull away. We can assume that she has been living somewhere in the wilderness for decades now, all alone except for the Cryobacter catlensis coursing through her bloodstream.
What's the biggest cryptid?
That would be the giant of Coconur.
She says as if it's common knowledge.
The giant lives in the most arid parts of the vast Coconur Desert in South Samara, casting a strange light across the barren wastes.
What do you mean by a strange light?
Mirage or a psychogenous luminance.
She does not elaborate on the nature of this luminance further, and just how big is it?
No one knows for sure. It is like an awful mountain appearing from below the horizon and expanding to cover almost a third of your field of vision.
Is it dangerous?
The towering luminosity of Coconur is a bad omen in local folklore. Some say it's a fata morgana, others, fate unimaginable.
Hui. No animal can be that large. It's a mirage.
That's what makes it so peculiar. A species surviving at the very limits of scientific law. The giant of Coconur must be the largest animal the planet can support. There are limits, you see, to how large a metabolism an ecosystem can beget. Some say a gravity anomaly below the Kokonur Desert might allow the creature to grow to these gargantuan sizes.
Great. This is great shit. You need more. Gravity anomaly. Digging it. Digging this parascientific stuff right here.
Man, I just can't get enough of these cryptids.
I'm glad you like them, but I'm not really one to tell you about all of them. You should ask my husband if you get the chance. He's the real expert.
Do you know anything more?
You know, to hell with it. Let's have more cryptids.
Of course, officers. Is there a particular cryptid you two are interested in learning about?
Apparently not.
I'm glad you like them.
But still, that was a lot of random trivia on subjects I don't entirely buy.
Again, you find yourself looking at that big old window.
Apparently it's still not the time. Okay, I'll go search those traps because it would be pretty it would be pretty bad if it turns out this cryptid actually does exist and I missed it or something.
Was that? Could it be the Koldamama Dakwa? No, it's probably just your imagination ringing in your ear.
Is there a ringing?
There seems to be an extremely high-pitched ring. Ultrasonic. Lena said it was very high-pitched, right? It's like something tickles your ear. Lena also said that it couldn't be heard by any other animal, including humans. What you're hearing must just be a regular bird. There it is again. You're about to rediscover a long-lost species. It must be very close. Maybe, just maybe, it will come toward you. Keep still. It might perch on your shoulder.
Wait, do you hear a high-pitched noise?
No, I don't hear the Koldomama Dakwa, and neither do you.
Of course he doesn't. He's deaf.
Hold very still and hope the bird comes to perch on your shoulder.
Oh no. The sound. It's moving away. Somewhere over there. Go after it. No. Too late. It's gone. There is no ringing anymore. Just the sound of the streets.
Listen more.
Keep your ears peeled, then. If the species really has migrated to Martinez, you're sure to hear it again.
To be honest, I think that might drive me actually insane if I keep my mind preoccupied with that. And I only have 2 slots left, so I think I'll leave it. So especially because I don't even know what it does, finally. So I'll keep the slots open for some more profound thoughts.
There's a trap in the reeds at your feet. Looks like the same one you saw Morel set before. Same mesh, same wiring. The reeds bend forlornly toward the water. Some tufts have been crushed. The broken stalks sickly pale against the darkness. In the east, the city center hums to you. The constant, distant song, louder on this part of the coast, nearer somehow. And there's that cold again. Always the cold. Locusts are crawling around in the trap, confused but uneaten. You see no carnivorous reed phasmid gorging on them.
Big surprise. Anyway, 1 down, 3 to go.
The lieutenant grins mirthlessly. No need to grin, I'm not expecting to find anything. I'm helping some citizens and getting some fresh air.
I meant no offense, just...
He doesn't know how to finish the sentence. He looks at you, putting the trap back on the ground. Painted with pastels, someone is trying to bring cheer into the world.
A familiar apparatus lies among the reeds, another one of Morel's traps, weighed down by stones to keep it in place. The reeds sway in the coastal breeze. They seem to be waiting for something. The wind picks up here, near the cape's end, surrounding the narrow strip of land from 3 cardinal directions. It's cold for this time of year. This trap is also full of panicked locusts. No sign of any cryptozoological beast inside.
Another empty trap.
He takes a note more out of habit than duty. How are you enjoying the cardio, Lieutenant? I'm quite enjoying it myself.
Always up for a good jog. Otherwise, would I still be on this case with you?
He smiles and raises his collar. It's windy. The broad rock rises to your south. It casts a long shadow over you.
This is the trap Morel just set. Checking it over, he said, is just a technicality. But the reeds hiss and shake in the darkness that has settled over the abandoned camp. The later it gets, the colder. Remnants of the camp can still be seen in the sand. The fire that's gone out. You feel strange, somehow. Nothing but locusts in this trap as well. Definitely no cryptozoological monstrosity.
Empty as all of them. One more of these and we're done.
Getting tired?
No, I'm fine. I didn't mean to complain, it's just...
He's short-winded. The sentence ends there. A buoy bobs in the water. The number on it says 11.
That patch of reeds over there, it's a great place to hide something. Kind of out of the way, being so close to the water.
What is this about?
Nothing. Just a hunch. The hunch passes, leaving you there, by the old buoy bobbing in the water. Time to go.
Is there anything in those bushes? No, but I should probably keep that location in mind. If I'm looking for something later, it might be here.
It takes you a moment, but finally, you spot the last of Morel's traps. This one's partially obscured by the reeds. Behind you, the ruins of a residential building rise over the reeds, shielding them from the wind. The reeds rustle confidently. When this district was booming, the reeds were kept at bay. Nothing obscured the freshly painted facades. Nowhere for drunks and adventurous teenagers to hide. Now only the wind blows. The trap feels light and silent as you pick it up. Something is different here. No locust. No phasmid either. But still.
Well, the bait worked on something. This doesn't mean it was a reed monster, though. Unless you see one in there. I just see an empty trap.
Well, it probably wasn't the phasmid, but still, Morel needs to know.
We did sort of promise to tell them, didn't we?
He seems to regret the fact. So are they back at the whirling interact at this point? The door is closed for today. Time to put the kids to sleep.
Inside, you see a set of steering levers, a radio microphone, a pull-out toolbox, and the soft glow of the fuel preheater gauge.
This is Precinct 57. How may I assist you?
Have you heard back from the ICP about the serial number?
Yes. The armor was produced by Fairweather in their facilities in Bétancourt sur la Clé in 42. It was part of a special order for Corps de Pharmacie, a security firm contracted to protect the interests of Oranese pharmaceutical companies in the Seminine conflict. So, it seems the armor went to Seminine. That's where the paper trail ends, though. Even the firm has proven difficult to track. Corps de Pharmacie has been renamed several times over in the years since the armor was issued.
I'm guessing one of the names is Colonel.
Yes, that is the most recent name the ICP has been able to connect to the CBP. And the one before it was Damwell. I also have one called Sediment, but I think that might be a different contractor. No, they work called Sediment. And somatosensor, it seems. All that during the last 9 years.
A suit of armor like this would have been manufactured with a particular person's physique in mind. You should ask for whom this suit was fitted.
A suit of armor like this would have been customized to fit the wearer. There must be a record of the person to whom it was issued.
Yes, but the ICP tends to be reluctant to share private sector records. I could try to talk them into it, though.
This is a fun challenge for her. An opportunity to contribute beyond doing her job by rote. She'll gladly put in the extra effort for Team RCM.
Yes, thank you, officer. I really appreciate your efforts in this case.
Glad to help. Call back tomorrow. Hopefully I'll have more for you then.
Connect me to 41. Do I have any business with them?
Right. Please hold.
10-4, come in. Fireworker, over.
I'm happy to report that I have found my badge, Jules.
10-4, sir, glad to hear that. I'll write down that there is no need to issue a new one to you then. Over.
That might sound odd, but there's personal details I'd like to discuss.
10-4, sir. Sorry, but I'm under orders to give a negative to requests for personal information. Over.
You mean you can't tell me anything about me? But I'm a me.
10-4. Orders are still orders. Anything else? Over.
Well, I guess it's all.
Roger that. 10-10. Over and out.
This is Precinct 57. How may I assist you?
I need to report a dead body on the Martinez Broadwalk.
One moment.
You can hear her shuffling through some papers.
Can you please describe the body? Age, sex, cause of death?
An unidentified middle-aged man, height 170-175 centimeters, dark hair, medium build. Looks like he slipped, fell through the hole in the boardwalk, and hit his head against the metal bench.
We suspect he might have been inebriated when he fell. There were bottles all around him, and traces of vomit on his shirt.
Any signs of violence?
No, it seems like it was an accident.
No field autopsy necessary. What about his belongings? Did you examine his clothes?
He was wearing boots, trousers, and an old leather jacket with a bright blue lining. I found a library card from his pockets.
Any information on the library card?
It's from the Central Jamrock Public Library. It belongs to someone named Billy Mijan.
Good. You have a lead. Do you and Lieutenant Kitsuragi want to take the case, or should I assign it to someone else?
We're taking the case.
I have assigned the case to Lieutenant Kim Kitsuragi. Please follow up on this library lead to identify the man. We'll send someone to take the body to the morgue. That's all for now. Thank you for reporting in. Is there anything else I can do for you?
Connect me to Jamrock Public Library.
I'm afraid they're closed. It says here that the library is open from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Alright.
We should try again during business hours.
Anything else, Detective? 57th, over and out.
In the cabin, you see a set of steering levers.
Boy, am I ever so grateful to you, officer. But I'm not the only one who wants to thank you.
He nods towards Lena.
Oh, sweetie, I don't even know how to thank you for finding my husband and helping him out. I hope we haven't been too much trouble for you.
I'm just doing my job, ma'am.
Here, I want to give you a small token of my gratitude. It's a tie, Mexican origin. The pin is an antique, quite special.
The little silvery knob holding the tie together feels warm in your hand. It's in the shape of an avian skull, with 8 eyes. You could ask her about this when you get the time. It's probably a cryptid, but the phasmid, of course, is more important.
Of course, dear. Is there a particular cryptid that you're interested in learning about?
Is this bird a cryptid?
No. It's the cryptid.
Wow, the cryptid? What is this bird?
The 8-eyed teratorn, the largest flying avian ever discovered, with a wingspan of 11.5 meters. It was thought to have gone extinct 3,500 years ago. Some even doubted the fossils were real. A mutation, they said. Until...
Mutation? All of evolution is a mutation.
Until
it was sighted by renowned Gotvaldian explorer and naturalist Uwe Plattenkalk in 21.
This renown seems a bit dubious. Your own catalogue comes up completely empty. But, of course, you are not all-knowing.
I need to hear about this sighting.
It happened on a botanical expedition into the vast and unexplored Oamrau Canyon in southeast Ilmara. Dr. Plattenkalk got separated from his group during a sandstorm.
Okay, and Uamaro is?
The world's largest canyon system, sweetie. It's a barren waste east of the Erg Desert. An ancient riverbed completely dried up.
What happened?
Alone in the blasted desert heat, The doctor wandered eastward, where man hasn't stepped foot in over 1,000 years, since the fall of Pericarnassus. He was lost, without any navigation equipment and desperately low on water. After a day or two, he noticed a bird high in the noon sky. A great black bird. It seemed gargantuan. Every now and then, the bird would dive down to feed on an animal carcass somewhere on the horizon. But by the time Uwe got there, the teratorn had taken off already, and the carcass was picked clean. This happened many times.
He was following it?
Yes, or rather, hunting. A bird that big has a lot of blood in it, and he was dying of thirst. For many days, Dr. Plottenkalk followed the teratorn until they reached a great canyon wall where the bird finally landed to rest. The professor climbed up there with a rock in his hand. He found the bird sleeping with his head tucked under its wing, a great black pile of feathers on the perch. So he approached, slowly squeezing the rock in his fist. Then the teratorn suddenly looked at him. He could see it had 8 eyes, 4 on either side of its skull, like a spider. And the man couldn't move. He was paralyzed, frozen into place with the rock in his hand. Whatever he did, he could not get closer to the bird.
Why?
The bird was controlling his mind. It kept him from approaching. He could step back. Every time he stepped forward, paralysis. Uwe spent 3 days trying until the bird flew away.
Hold on, how did he survive to tell the story?
The 8-eyed teratorn was indifferent to him, as long as he didn't get closer than 2 steps. It even let him feed on some carcasses up there, and the 2 unfertilized eggs it left behind.
An 8-eyed mind-controlling bird? Come on.
Guess way, sweetie. Cryptozoologists have been tracing it ever since, but Wamrau is vast, mysterious, and holds many secrets.
Modern radar telemetry shows great promise. We will confirm this one by the end of the decade, latest.
This one I liked. Not only does it have 8 eyes, and is a living fossil, and the largest bird ever to live, it also does mind control.
He's sincere. He likes the audacity of it.
So that was the last anyone saw of it?
Sadly, yes. But there are numerous reports of 8-eyed bird skulls from Il Mara. And then there's the striking resemblance to the Pericarnassian imperial eagle, an ancient heraldic symbol that is hard to pass off as coincidence. The imperial eagle, too, had 8 eyes.
Not really. It's just stylization. The way they drew eyes. It's not a zoological drawing.
Very, very hard.
This one's very famous. Everyone knows it. People will be looking at that tie on you and thinking, that man is into cryptids. So, what else do you want to know? I'm glad you like them, but I'm not really one to tell you about all of them.
Okay, what does the tie do? Inland Empire and Volition. That's kinda cool, but to be honest, that's straight up better than this. But I do love how my horrific necktie speaks to me sometimes. So I am torn, I must say.
I couldn't possibly shower thanks on you as enthusiastically as my wife has, but I am grateful for your assistance, officer.
He tries to play it cool, remain professorial, but inside, this man is itching for some news on those traps.
Have you noticed anything off about your friend Gary?
No. No, of course not. Why?
You sure?
Well, he's been a little unenthusiastic about the trip. More so than usual. That's understandable. He just wants to get home and warm up.
He doesn't want to say it, but this is unusual. Gary's been to the jungle with him, to places way more challenging than the coast. Why so eager to go home?
So I checked all the traps.
Good. Okay. And?
One of them was empty.
Completely empty?
His eyes grow wide. Yes, there was nothing in the trap. No locusts and no phasmid.
No locusts? No phasmid either?
That's not ideal, but...
He rubs his chin.
It just means the Insulindian phasmid is even more clever than we thought.
She's engaging in a well-known self-deception called motivated reasoning. You should correct them.
Of course, more clever.
You're dealing with a subject near and dear to their hearts. It might behove you to tread lightly.
Yes, the Phantasmadeia picked off the locusts and escaped. This is good news, though we'll have to reconsider the design of the traps. Make them more secure.
Another trip to the reeds.
Well, to be honest, this is pretty ridiculous, right? Because by using this train of logic and sort of moving the goalposts, you're never going to be like, there's literally no way they can be convinced it doesn't exist, because they will be like, oh, it's just so super cool that it evades all manners of scientific equipment and can't be traced or whatever. Are you sure you've exhausted all of the alternative explanations?
Of course we have.
The cryptozoologist's face flashes with indignation.
Wait, Morel. He may have a point. We have an obligation to rule out other hypotheses.
You're right, dear. It's a fair point. But what other explanation could there be? Pardon me. This is a big deal for us. You've helped us twice now, and brought some great news too. My gratitude, and the gratitude of the Société Cryptozoologique de Ravachol is yours.
Heartfelt gratitude. But does it feel like closure? What really happened?
Thank you, it's an honor. We should probably return to our main investigation here. This has been refreshing, but...
Helping cryptozoologists isn't really a priority for our organization, is it? The lieutenant looks out the window, impatiently. Damn it, Lieutenant. Have you no intellectual curiosity?
Interfacing, you say? Is it a white test? It is. Okay, so I'll try this, and if I fail, I'm going to actually put another point into that. Develop an alternative theory about the missing locusts.
Consider the way the empty trap was disturbed, as though shaken. Most likely the hands of a young person, hands small enough to fit inside the trap, too. You should ask the red-headed boy, Kuno.
I think the little hooligan called Kuno may have stolen the locusts.
A little hooligan? But what would a child want with bugs?
Oh, my dear Morel. You've been an old man for too long. Kids love to torment insects almost as much as they love to torment old folks.
A shadow of worry passes over the woman's face. I'll talk to the little gremlin and see if anything comes up.
Delinquents. My favorite.
It doesn't sound like it's really his favorite.
Oh, you've been such a dear to us. Please, let us know whatever you turn up. I have a feeling we're getting so close.
Well, I see you've got all the help you need. I'll see you tonight at my place. Let's play suzerainty, but no more field trips for me.
This is a slippery one. He may respect the law, but mostly wants to pass under the radar. You won't get a chance to talk after you walk out of here. He hasn't been particularly forthcoming before. He may well still be hiding something. After he's left, it's too late.
Really, Gary? We're getting somewhere here. I'd love to play suzerainty, but...
Lena, I'm sorry, but you're not getting anywhere. It was some kids. I know the little mutants around here. Leave anything out in the open and they'll steal it, even if it's bugs.
He looks at his tea.
Morel, it's been fun, really, but I need a bath and I have deliveries to handle. When this tea is done, I gotta run.
No need to apologise, Geary. You'd be more than helpful. We'll have to take a rain check on that game of Sue's rain tea today, though. We're gonna follow this through.
Okay, I'll try talking to him once more, because the game very clearly suggests it's my last chance.
Always a pleasure to see an officer of the law. I mean, officers.
Okay, composure. Well, it's 50-50. Why is he shifting around like that? Analyze Gary's composure.
That shirt looks very uncomfortable on him. Look at the buttons, barely keeping that thing together, as if something is ready to rip out from underneath.
Something worn underneath?
Yes, like a piece of ceramic armor, for example. One that makes a clicking sound when the plates meet each other, resembling pearls or marbles, stolen from the corpse in the yard near where he lives.
I see you're a connoisseur of high-quality combat gear.
I knew you'd figure it out, officer. I'm sorry I didn't tell you at once.
He unbuttons the shirt.
I was ashamed of what I did. And I didn't want you to know.
You see gleaming white ceramic shine underneath. A thin layer of interlocking plates covers his gaunt torso.
We're not detecting falsehood, sire. He's gearing up to admit the truth. This shame is surprisingly sincere.
Gary, what's going on?
I took the hangman's cuirass. I didn't mean to.
God damn it, Gary.
I know.
Shame on you. Give the cuirass to the officer at once.
The woman looks at you, her eyes soft and bleeding.
Gary didn't mean to interfere with your investigation, officers. He's just thick-headed and poor as dirt. But he's always helped us, given us a place to stay. And he's followed Morel into God knows what jungles.
He's a loyal friend.
Yeah, but unfortunately, at the very least, he's going to get a fine. Like, that's some pretty serious tampering with evidence there. Do you know who killed the hanged man?
I always thought it was the Union. Some Union hardasses lynched him because of the strike. But almost everyone in town knows that. I wish I could tell you more.
He shakes his head.
This is all he knows.
Why did you really put those clothes in the trash?
Everyone was picking those pieces off him, and I was watching them do it. And they scattered his clothes all over the yard. Everything was smelling. So I went there to take out the trash and started cleaning up. All those rags on the ground, him swinging up there, and I had a lapse of honor, sir. I thought, he's a foreigner. They all say he wasn't from here. Only the cuirass was left, so I stripped it off him. It was early in the morning. No one saw me. I took it with me. It was a mistake. Had I known it'd give you guys trouble, I wouldn't have... Fuck.
We're detecting sincere contrition here, sire. He's not trying to flatter anyone.
It's okay. It was a loose end, and you are tying it up now.
I'm so fucking sorry I called you Yellow Man. Sealite officers commanded the suzerain's navy. Most of them sided with the king when...
Shakes his head.
They were thoroughly conservative men, he realizes suddenly. It's difficult to say what the lieutenant thinks of this historic apology. His face does not belie emotions.
Why did you lie to me, Gary?
Because I was weak. I should have told you the moment I saw you. But...
He's staring at nothing in particular.
He's a scaredy cat.
The woman looks at Gary, her eyes motherly. Give me that armor now.
He sighs again, hangs his head, and unbuttons his shirt fully. A cuirass that matches the dead man's boots comes into view. Soon it is in your hands, smelling of his sweat.
Are we done here, Gary?
Yes, absolutely. I will never do anything like this again.
Okay, so I guess you're not even getting fined. Thank you for your cooperation. What does the armor do? +1 pain threshold, +1 volition. It might be useful to wear it before I go and confront the guys, you know, who killed that guy. Because obviously there's a bloodbath brewing. Everyone says so. It's sort of hanging on by a thread. So when it all comes down, it's probably wise to have some armor on hand. But for now, this episode has been long enough, so I'm going to save and end it for now. That's all for this one, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.